Welcome, one and all. Nishta is an initiative to demystify leadership because leadership has varied definitions. Each one of us has a lot of queries when it comes to leadership. What is my leadership style? Is it the right style for me to survive and succeed in this VUCA world? There are so many questions running around in our minds. The key intention behind Nishta is to bring in the real-time experiences from the industry stalwarts and experts, the leaders. Today, we have a guest who is well known for her high-level intelligence, pleasant personality, and always thirst about questioning the status quo to bring in innovation. Never procrastinate. This is the mantra she follows so diligently. Determination, strong focus in whatever she is undertaking, passion towards technology, dynamism. These traits also have supported her leadership journey for the past 2 decades. Vice President at Robert Bosch Engineering and Business Solutions. Lata is also a certified coach. She has been helping through mentoring and coaching other leaders so that they can grow comfortably. Warm welcome, Lata.
Thank you very much, Subha. Nice to be part of this initiative.
Thank you. Awesome. See, when I was looking at your profile, during the interaction that I have had, you have started your leadership journey pretty well ahead, very early in your career. What exactly you see leadership from your viewpoint? That's where I would like to start this interaction.
Okay. So I would say that my leadership journey and my personal journey, it can't be really separated from each other. So I started my career with BHEL, worked there for 2 years, and then moved on to Siemens, where I started my journey in the automotive field, which I'm very, very passionate about. And I worked there for around 9+ years, and I had the opportunity to go into depth of technology as well as have assignments in geographies like Europe and South Africa. This intercultural experience was enriching, and this is a part and parcel of my leadership journey. And I took a sidestep into sales and marketing for a couple of years, and that also brought in tremendous amount of learning. For the last 1.5 decades, I'm associated with Bosch, the technology company that offers a lot of learning and opportunities. And I had the chance to take the leadership role very early in my career, as you told. So if you ask me what is the fundamental for me in this role, it is the ability to draw and connect to the big picture, yeah, and one human understanding and influencing another and acting as an enabler and coach. That's the first and foremost thing that comes to my mind. And we all like to go professionally and personally. It goes hand in hand. And it's very important to instill the growth mindset in the team to ignite their potential and to inspire them. So this is one big part of leadership, and to do this, my self-motivation itself has to be very high, and my energy has to be high at all points of time. And I need to communicate transparently and with a lot of conviction. So automotive, as you know, is a very male-dominated
Yes.
space even now, and I don't have to tell you how it was 2 decades back.
I
So
know.
amount of determination and courage to stand up to what I believe actually has helped me out in a big way. So I would say that this is my journey for the last 2 decades. Yeah.
Especially the industry that you belong to, which is, as you rightly mentioned, even till today, it's male dominated, fighting the status quo,
Mhm.
right? So, how did you do that? How do you do that? Because it's not easy.
Yeah, let me put it, I like to bring the human angle more than other angles. So let me put it this way. What is the gift of life? Yeah, the gift of life is to make a difference. And it is leadership responsibility to create a kind of a culture where challenging of status quo is encouraged. That is actually it is actually a value in the leadership itself. And we need to have a kind of a forward thinking and a growth mindset, a state of mind that does not settle for the attitude for the bare minimum, You need to put yourself to get more, deliver more, and always try to excel should be the mantra. Never settle for anything mediocre. So this is a critical element in an organizational transformation, especially in this VUCA world where everything is changing so much fast. This
Right.
is the need of the hour, yeah. And also to foster a culture of innovation, especially in a company like what I work, the innovation and entrepreneurship is the key for success. So it is very much required. So as you told, it is not easy to do it in a very lean, highly optimized, interconnected, interdependent global organization. It's not very easy. But I
Right.
could also say that it's not very tough as well
Mm-hmm.
as we think, because what we need to have is that, one is that, an open mind to do it and an open will. And very important is also the purpose. The purpose to create something meaningful should be there in you. If that spirit is there, it becomes easy. So I think I would say that you need to make, one fearless choice at a time, and maybe one brave decision at a time, and maybe one courageous action at a time. So I mean, it just goes, hand in hand. And also, we have to remember that, especially in such kind of situations, when we have this interdependent organization,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the results take much longer than we expected.
Right.
So a lot of perseverance as well as consistency is also very much required. So this is my take on it, Shubha.
When you mentioned about that interdependencies, right? I also see that your journey has been around, organizations where cultural differences would have made played a major role,
That's
right?
right.
So
Yeah.
that cultural intelligence is one area that I would like your, how did you manage that? How did you observe that? And how did you observe all the other cultural, differences? How did you, make the best use of what you learned?
Okay, I would say that intercultural learning is something which is personally of a lot of interest to me. So actually, way back in '95, when I went to Germany, that there was very difficult to get houses for rent, and the choice was basically to stay in a hotel or you can stay in a paying guest.
Hmm.
So I went and stayed with a German family as a paying guest. The person was, in the late 70s, and the lady was also in her 70s, and she could speak a little bit of English, and the other person could speak all German. So for me, it was, a rigorous training in German for that period of time, because I used to interact with them and I learned the language. In parallel, I bought some small books, learned things on my own, and I used to eat meals with them in the evening after office.
Oh.
And they used to tell me, what is this meal? What is the significance? And this guy, he had fought in the World War II,
Oh.
and they used to tell me about the World War. So I also understood a lot of culture where certain values are coming. So it was, quite an amazing experience. Again, coming to this intercultural journey,
Right.
which I really treasure. When I make a personal travel to
Uh-huh.
somewhere, so I have traveled to maybe 25 plus countries across the world. I don't even take a tailor-made tour. I don't like to have a, photo click kind of a travel.
Okay,
So
got
what
it.
I do is that, I like to understand the culture. I like to understand the people, how they live, how they eat, what they do, what is the kind of background from which, this kind of behavior. For example, if you go to Far East, it's a very different thing. If you go to Vietnam, maybe, they
Ah,
were actually, the war was there. They had a tough life. So the kind of attitude and they demonstrate, it comes from some of the experiences that in the country has gone through. Similarly, if you go to the West, they also have the scars of war and how they revived probably it's in a very different way.
mm,
Then when you go to the US, it's different. And, so like that, every place that you go, I think you should go like a student, you should go with an open mind,
right.
and tell that, hey, I'm looking at I'm a blank canvas, I want now to add colors to it. Yeah.
Okay.
This kind of openness is really required when you adapt to the different cultures, and
Mm.
obviously the language helps. For example, in Germany, I would say that I can talk a reasonable amount of German, not too good, but reasonable to make a conversation to understand. So these kind of things actually helps. And normally, people. Let me talk about a German,
Mm.
example. All
Right.
of them are, fans of football. So you cannot run a conversation without having football or weather there. And to understand that, you need to understand where they are coming from and, what is the culture of the land and what do they enjoy. So
Mm.
similarly, I think every person whom you interact with, whether it is India, North, South, West, or rest of the world, this kind of intercultural awareness is
Mhm.
very much important for your success because it is, again, it's two humans transacting each other. And the more you know better, the better for you, right?
Right. Fantastic. What I've seen in you is like you go in depth, right? Right from understanding the history behind that particular, country, the culture, as well the other factors when it comes to the cultural differences. Yeah? So like that, understanding the nuances and then using it to your advantage. Yeah, so
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, that's a great perspective, Lata. And one more question I must ask when we are talking about automotive industry. Yeah, gender bias. This is like, talk of the town for the past few decades, I would say. In
Yeah.
fact, while working on one research paper, I was kind of shocked to learn that having women in any organization, I think it should be from some 30, 40 years back, or even before that,
Mhm.
um, building skill or having women workforce in an organization, helping them to survive and then succeed, it used to be a part of CSR activity. When
Okay.
I read that, I was literally shocked. Then I realized, okay, from where we have come today. Maybe, instead of complaining more, we should take, more action, right? How
Yeah.
can we make that, broaden that, quotient, right? So what is your perspective? What is your experience? Because I'm sure you have a different perspective or different experience, especially when you're coming from automotive industry.
Shubha, on the lighter side, I do still remember
Uh-huh.
20 years back when I traveled to a certain plant,
Mhm.
they did not even have washrooms for women. Yeah,
Wow.
and I had to undergo certain trainings there. So it's a very different experience from that time to now. I think the world has changed, and I'm happy that it has changed.
Yes.
What I would say is that there have been challenges in the during the course of this journey. I
Mhm.
agree, but then the question is that I would not have learned so many things, and I would not have become resilient if there were no challenges at all, right? So I would like to look at it in a positive way.
Fantastic.
And I normally don't bring gender to the workplace in my mind at all.
Mm.
And I would like to contribute like every other person is doing. And I don't want and I don't like special treatment or
Mm.
quotas for growing up. Yeah,
Right.
it has to be competency based, it has to be research based. So this is my take. And being in a European organization, it is clear that the movement upward can happen only by demonstrating your capabilities and delivering the results,
Mm.
not one time.
Mm.
Very important is the consistency in the performance, the consistency in the attitude that show at work.
Right. Okay.
Essential to the success of any organization, be it empathy.
Uh,
I do really, believe in a lot of collaboration and co-creating through collaboration, which is the need of the hour. The
mm.
second thing is that, we are all moms, so the nurturing aspects and the caring aspects come to us really automatically, and we handle so many crises every day. So the
Yeah.
crisis management part of the we can do much more, strongly, nicely, and even cope under stress. And we lead by example, right? So this is something which is there. So we do it at home seamlessly every day. So we don't have to have a special training neither on emotional intelligence nor on multitasking, right? So there are days,
Fantastic.
where you have to struggle between, your parent falling ill, a child having a hard day, you have your customer escalation, your helper doesn't turn up. I mean, this is chaotic for us, and this happens very often. I mean, I'm sure that you'll agree with me, right? So then finally, it is the ability that how you can think clearly, prioritize, and act with focus. This is very, very important. And a
Mm.
great amount of willpower and tell that, hey, come what may, I can do. And
Mm.
that gives you a lot of confidence and the powers. So I may say that I have had great teams wherever I work.
Mm.
And I always say it is like second family, and it's not for the sake of saying. I really believe that it is a extended family.
Right.
When you're in a family, what happens? You care, yeah.
Yes.
You can be tough. You can be assertive. You
Right.
handle conflict. You create conflict. But
Yes.
the whole idea is focusing on the wellness and the benefit of the entire system as a whole. And I believe that this whole good at work. So I think being a woman leader is also a solid advantage, according to me.
Yes. So the goal, once we have clarity in the goal that we want to achieve, plus the purpose behind that goal. And another perspective that you brought in so beautifully is how we manage home, right? End of the day, whether we create conflict or we are a part of any conflict, end of the day, we want some peace of mind, right? So that's great. That's
Right, right.
yeah.
Yeah. That's why, as I told, no, the second family kind of thing, if you think of
Yes.
it makes your life simpler, and I would say it's very uncomplicated if you do that way.
Very right, very right, very right. Okay, see now let's look at the difficult part of it, right? So is there any single trait which you felt it very, very tough to adopt? It could be from your initial days or in the recent times.
I would say mostly from the initial days, and that is projecting calm.
Okay, okay. How did you overcome that?
Okay, here the projecting calm, I meant not in terms of ambition, but it's in
Huh.
terms of showing, emotions out,
Okay,
anger
okay,
or frustration or sadness or anxiety and things like that, right?
okay,
So
okay.
I have realized that if you demonstrate over a period of time, it's a realization. It's not that, it came one day upon me. I have realized that if you demonstrate anxiety and if you are prone to anger, you
Mm,
actually create a lot of mistrust among your teams. And they
mm,
also lose their confidence on you if you do that, right? So as a leader, it's very important to give the confidence to your people, your team, that they are backing them up anytime, whatever it is there, you are with them, kind of a thing, and you are calm and strong enough to make meaningful decisions because the people look up to you for that.
mm.
And when you're emotional, it is clear that the decision what we are making is not logical.
Okay.
So these days, I'm more or less, I would say, pretty much fine at that. It's a lesson learned after a period of time. And as you told beginning, I completely subscribe to it. Awareness is the first step.
Mm.
So nowadays I'm conscious about the fact that yes, I'm anxious,
Oh,
or I'm getting angry, or I'm getting emotional. So that
right.
awareness is there.
Mm,
And whether people believe it or no, yes, I think taking a deep breath actually helps. It's nothing to do with, it's not a theoretical thing. It really helps to do
right.
that. And also taking a short break from that situation,
Mm,
maybe for a couple of minutes, so that, and then get back to the scenario, because by that time you would have calmed down, and
mm.
it helps you to consider all kinds of perspectives before coming or jumping to a conclusion. That actually helps, and very important for me is also to stay positive. Whatever happens around, I try to stay positive.
Mm.
And life is driven by purpose. I think staying positive is also something which I practice as much as possible, Siva.
Okay, okay, fantastic. You see, again, you should be conscious and mindful enough about what is happening around you, right?
Yeah, right.
So one is recognizing the emotions that we get into, and identifying opportunities, identifying ways to manage those emotions. That is very, very important, because you cannot suppress anger. You cannot suppress, suppressing negative emotions will, reflect in a different way. But whereas you have handled it very well.
You have teams which trust each other. No? It is also open. You can openly talk to them as well. There's
Ah,
no harm in doing that.
right, right, right.
That's the importance of having trusted people around you and to create and nurture such teams. It is very critical.
Very right. Yeah. Even the team bonding would have gone really, really, much better than the earlier days, right?
Yes, yes, that's right.
Fantastic. And, one more question from the women perspective, right? So, many of my friends as well, they say, you know what, I'm struggling between two different stuff, right? One is family. I have to take care of the family, kids, and then in-laws, parents, aged, people at home. Even though we try to create a support system, always there is a, knife hanging on our head sort of a situation when it comes to, home. Similarly, because of that mindset, people, especially women in the leadership growth path, they tend to feel that some other, one more knife is hanging on their head when it comes to the workplace, right?
Mm.
So, work-life balance. See, work-life balance is now become work-life integration, right? So we are talking about balancing the, versus integration, sort of conversation is happening right now. So what is your take on that? Are you can I say you are successful in that perspective or still trying? What is your take on that?
I would say that I'm quite happy with the kind of a balance what I have at this point of time.
Yeah.
And I also do understand that work-life balance is a very personal definition. Yeah. Work-life balance for you and work-life balance for me and somebody else is very, very different. It's like a definition of success, you know.
Yes.
Everybody has their own definition of what success is, something like that.
Right.
And for me personally, I feel that I cannot have this very clear-cut boundary which tell that, 8-hour work, 2-hour this, it doesn't work. It's kind of, because it's the same person, it kind of creeps into these kind of boundaries and I don't expect it. That is my definition of work-life balance, that I don't really expect that it has to be like, completely compartmentalized. It's really not possible.
Mm.
So one thing which I have done is, to enroll the family to what you do and
Mm.
explaining the importance of what you do to them, especially I would say to the children, because I think most of the working moms I have seen, they feel the pressure because of the children. They feel that, one is the guilt that you feel. Second thing, the children is telling the mama, you don't go to office today, you stay with me, and why do you have to work, kind of questions, right? So it is very important to tell them why you need to work and what does it do to your self-esteem and what kind of exposure that you get benefits them. So this kind of conversation from the time they are young actually is very much important. That is one part. The second thing is the time management. The time management in a very structured way. I'm more or less a very planned person when it comes to things at home, and I do a lot of things because I don't really believe in having a cook or things like that. So I manage a lot of things, but it's a perfect planning, which I need to do to get there. So the structured way actually is helping me a lot. And another one is to switch off when, if really required, I can switch off, whether it is work or whether it is office, I can switch off. I decide I can switch off. This is another thing which was hard for me. And, I learned it over a period of time. It is working, Shubha. It is not as hard as it seems to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. That's switching off, switching on, right? So that is something skill that we can acquire. I think balancing or integrating work and life can can it is possible. It's not like it is impossible. It is possible. Yeah.
But it comes all, see, when you're working, it comes with a price. It is not so easy as sitting at home. It is clear, yeah. So, but this is a choice that you have made. You wanted to make this choice that you want to have a career. So maybe you compromise on your sleep. Maybe you compromise on something that happens, but it's an informed choice. People get frustrated when it is not an informed choice.
Right, right. Yeah, very true, very true. So yeah, and another perspective I would like to reiterate here for the benefit of our audience is like how you wanted the family to be a part of kind of a stakeholder for your growth as well, right? How you want you can communicate with the family, like this is the reason I'm doing something. This is the purpose behind what I'm doing, right? If that is communicated well with the family, of course, like in organizations to keep on negotiating, but if we are committing towards our growth, it is our responsibility to have that buy-in also from the family. Yeah. Thank you, Lata. And when we are talking about work life integration, this has become this has become more challenging, I would say, during this pandemic. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now I would like to slightly shift the focus again back to the organization, right?
Okay.
As a leader, one is integration, work-life integration. That is one, right? So
Mhm.
how did you manage all the organizational challenges that were happening during that, especially in the initial year, period
Mhm.
of pandemic?
Okay, I would say that it was not easy, Shubha, because this was completely unexpected. Just came out of the blue, these lockdowns and things like that. And we are an engineering company; it's not a software company. So we also have labs and many things where people have to be present. So the business continuity planning was a very important thing.
Mm.
But we worked as a team, and it also, I would say, as a leader, it helped me pause and reflect on what was happening and what could be changed. So
Mm.
many times, many months, many years, we believe that many things cannot be done from home, but we proved that you can do it from home. And I was very glad that in December end, when we took our partner satisfaction survey,
Mhm.
there were many partners who put 11 out of 10 on how India supported
Mm.
during the COVID time. So this is something which was really amazing. So what I felt is that, I started feeling that humans have become more and more nicer after COVID. Yeah, personally, I feel that, we connected more and more to the fellow human beings, and it's not only in terms of office, but even if you look at, you extended help, you accepted help without barriers and ego. So this was happening in the office front also.
Mhm.
So at work, we actually took a decision that we need to have a constant communication with people,
Okay.
and the importance of leading with empathy,
Mhm.
and also demonstrating resilience under this condition. These two became
Mhm.
really important. So what I did is that, while leading this constant communication, I also started blogging a lot. I never knew that I could write. But
Okay.
then,
Good.
I don't write from the head, I write from the heart, and I think it was quite well received in the organization. I used to
Yes.
write, blogs to the people, and then we created certain videos where we could communicate to the people. We took feedbacks, virtual town halls, a lot of things. So communication was something which helped, and also we kept on changing the direction because it was very clear it is VUCA. Because sometimes we know a plant is closing down, something is moving up, some customer is doing this way, that way. So we continuously needed to adapt, and the steering of the ship has to be done much more in an agile way. So there was a lot of learning. So I had to unlearn certain things, and then I had to relearn certain things
Mhm.
and adapt to the new normal. And another thing which is also which struck me is also that, other than this IQ and EQ, there is
Mhm.
something which is very important for human beings, and especially for leadership, is the adaptability quotient.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
the AQ
Mhm.
factors. I was telling that even for the new interviews, we should look at, having testing the AQs, because such situations could come again and again.
Right.
Yeah. So, and the last part is that the very important for us is also the innovation and the engineering efficiency part. It
Mhm.
took a toll in the beginning because we were trying to figure out ways on how we can effectively do it.
Mhm.
But I was very surprised that we found really creative ways of getting it done in a virtual way. So we
Mhm.
found ways and means of doing many things in different ways, and that is something which COVID taught us in a very positive way.
Okay. Fantastic. See, what I observe again, from here, Nalata, you have walked the talk, right? So you did your, blogs. You started writing. You started doing, videos. You started, creating new communication channels, right? So especially during, any change. See, now VUCA is completely, nobody had any control because we had to just follow what was happening around us,
Right,
right?
right.
So yeah, that scenario, top-down communication makes a huge difference in any organization per se, especially when it comes to working in lab where not everybody can work from home, right? So
Right.
in such scenario, I think you have created that communication strategy really, really well by showing by doing, right? That is really something that we should acknowledge and appreciate. That is one. As you rightly mentioned, that adaptability quotient. So there are two agilities that I have been keep on talking about during my sessions and all. One is change agility and second is learning agility, right?
Mhm.
If you look at it, this adaptability quotient, it becomes a bridge sort of, right? So you
Right.
have to quickly learn something, get it into action. Yeah, today in fact I wrote about embedded learning.
Mhm.
So unless until you know how to learn while doing and how to do while learning, surviving is going to be really, really challenging, going forward, especially, right?
Beautiful point.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is like a beautiful thing that you have brought out. Now, we are kind of towards the end of our session. I wouldn't want to close this without having some suggestions from you, advice from you for the young leaders, budding leaders, because we see a huge difference in the intergeneration, right? So
Yeah.
my I would like to have your advice or thoughts for these young leaders.
Yeah. I would like to tell it as thoughts, not advice, because I don't know what works for me works for everybody else. Yeah, but there are a few things which I think works probably for everybody, and one is, learn continuously, whichever role you are in, whether it is technology, leadership, business, whatever it is, stay updated. Otherwise, you are out of the market very, very soon. That is one part. Another one is also this communication, whichever layer you are, communicating openly, transparently, and with conviction actually will make a big difference to all the stakeholders, up, down, side, whomever you are managing, right? And another one is also, I would say that, prioritize things, whether it is talking about work-life balance or an effective delegation at office, or time management, many things. I think you need to prioritize, which for that prioritizing you need to be clear about what you want and what you want to achieve end of the day. So this is very critical. And there's no way other than to work hard in this world. People tell work smart, but work smart is also work hard. Nothing comes easy, nothing comes free. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, these are some of the things. And I also told, like when I told about the travel story, it is always remember that we are maybe a half full glass or an empty glass. There is a lot of space for us to pour in. So keep your eyes open, keep your heart and mind open, so that you can learn, you can absorb everything from outside. There is so much to learn. There is so much of things which you can learn, because we know maybe one fraction of what is happening around, and every learning which will makes you, I would say, more happy and contented. That is very much important. And if you want to look at from the leadership people, I think leadership angle, you have to lead with empathy, and you have to lead with authenticity. Yeah, where you have to be really authentic when you're talking to the people, when you're dealing with team, because the whole thing works with a whole amount of trust on the leadership. So this is something which cannot be commanded. It is something which has to be earned by your own behavior. And it is also important to give back to everybody, give back to the society, give back to people who have brought you up, give back to people who help you, and give back to the new generation. And last but not the least, never give up. So this is what I would say as some of my thought process about.
Fantastic, fantastic. See, from the beginning to the end, Lata, we have many takeaways for the budding leaders, young leaders, to those who are in the mid-level right now, or in the super senior level, or in the C-suite, right?
Okay.
We all have different takeaways from your thought processes as well. The way you have been walking the talk, that is something that impressed me a lot. I must acknowledge it here. Yeah. So right from having the bird's eye view or the pilot eye view, having clarity on the big picture, and then bring in different tools like empathy, resilience, emotional quotient, especially that adaptability quotient thing that I would like to stress again. That is very, very important. Once we have all these pillars built, then obviously the building is going to be really, really strong, right? So for that building to stay strong, we should never give up. This is how I would like to close the conversation today. I would like to have more conversation with you in the coming days as well, Lata.
Sure.
I would really recommend people who are looking for some coaching, leadership coaching. Lata is the best person, I would say. So thank you so much. I'm glad that you have also taken up that coaching, as your passion, right? Because building more leaders is very critical, not only for a specific organization, but for the entire globe, I would say. Yeah. By building more leaders, we are creating a new community. New normal will become much easier when we have more leaders in place, right? I'm so glad that you're also doing it in your organization as well, in your ecosystem, whichever way possible. Thank you so much once again for your time and then committing to this initiative, Lata. I truly appreciate. Look forward to more and more interaction with you in the coming days. Thanks
Yeah,
a lot.
thank you, Shiva. It was really a pleasure, and it's nice that you have started this demystifying leadership.
Thank you.
This is a great journey, and wishing you all the best and all success for you.
Thank you so much, Lata. Thanks a lot. Many times, journey becomes more important than the destination. That is what I would say with an episode that we have done with Ms. Lata, who is the VP in Robert Bosch Engineering Solutions. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us, for supporting us by sharing Nishta to all in your network. Keep learning, keep sharing. We are coming up with more episodes from Nishta.